What if the world's balance of power shifted overnight, without anyone in the West realizing it? Imagine waking up to news of a devastating missile strike on Kyiv, one so precise and overwhelming that not a single Western defense system could stop it. At the very same moment, urgent news breaks. A top United States diplomatic team is rushing across the Pacific, desperate to broker peace, or at least contain the crisis, at a high-stakes summit in Asia. On the surface, these two events seem like separate emergencies, each rooted in its own local conflict. But what if they are actually linked, two moves in a much larger game that is overturning the global order? These are not isolated incidents. They are coordinated signals that Western dominance is being tested and perhaps outmaneuvered. In a single day, the world might have witnessed an irreversible turning point. If you miss the connection between the missile barrage in Europe and the secretive summit in Asia, you risk misunderstanding where real power is moving and how your future could be shaped without your knowledge. The fate of alliances, the security of nations, even the rules that keep economies stable, everything could be at stake. Let's unravel how a missile attack and a secretive summit could change everything you thought you knew about global power. To understand the true meaning behind these events, we first need to break down exactly what happened in Kyiv and why it sent shockwaves through corridors of power around the world. Kyiv suffered a missile strike with a level of scale and precision unseen in this war. How did Western defenses fail so completely? And what does this mean for Ukraine and its allies? On the 25th of October, 2025, Russia unleashed a missile barrage against Kyiv that has set a new record for both size and technological sophistication. In a single, coordinated attack, 26 advanced missiles flew directly over the capital and surrounding regions, every single one slipping past NATO-supplied air defense systems. Not one was intercepted. The West's most celebrated technology failed in real time, exposing a terrifying vulnerability. Russian targeting was ruthlessly calculated. Unlike previous waves that often caused civilian casualties, these missiles struck only military infrastructure, drone assembly lines, major fuel depots, and command logistics. The aim was clear: to paralyze Ukraine's ability to fight, not just to intimidate its people. The consequences were immediate and catastrophic. The energy network in Kyiv collapsed under the assault, triggering fires and rolling blackouts. With winter approaching, millions now face the threat of freezing temperatures, darkness, and the breakdown of basic services. Humanitarian disaster looms, with cascading effects already spreading into other key regions. In the midst of this chaos, President Zelensky's urgent escape from Ukraine sent shockwaves through the government and its Western partners. His emergency landing in London was more than a diplomatic gesture. It was a call of desperation. In meetings that stretched late into the night, he demanded not just more aid, but new levels of military technology, pleading for defenses that could actually stop future barrages and for weapons capable of striking back. NATO's credibility is now at stake. The alliance's most advanced systems failed their test, sparking panic at the highest levels of Ukraine's leadership. Confidence in Western security guarantees lies shattered, raising fundamental doubts across all of Eastern Europe. If Ukraine cannot rapidly restore its air defenses and rebuild energy infrastructure, the result could be total breakdown, mass suffering, loss of industrial capacity, and the unraveling of state functions. The stakes could not be higher, and the clock is ticking. But these events are not isolated, nor are they just about Ukraine. Even as Europe reels from this unprecedented blow, a new crisis is accelerating in Asia, one that may force the United States into its most dangerous diplomatic test yet. While Kyiv burns and alliances falter, another confrontation is erupting across the globe, a showdown between Washington and Beijing with consequences that reach far beyond any battlefield. Is the American president about to save the global order, or is he walking straight into a trap set by Moscow and Beijing? As the world reels from the shockwaves of the Kyiv missile strike, President Donald Trump boards Air Force One bound for Asia. The official narrative is clear. secure vital rare minerals, and strike new economic deals with China to shore up America's industrial dominance. But behind the headlines, the mission is far more ambitious and dangerously fraught. The true White House objective is to force Beijing to break ranks with Moscow, cutting off support and isolating Russia on the global stage. Advisors hope that fresh trade offers and veiled threats will push the Chinese leadership to abandon their uneasy partnership with the Kremlin. Yet within hours of Trump's arrival, China sends an unmistakable message. Beijing slaps new sanctions on American firms, tightens the spigot on rare earth mineral exports, and hints at a crackdown that could cripple entire U.S. tech sectors. The response is swift, coordinated, and unapologetic. Instead of fracturing the Russia-China alliance, America's pressure only pushes the two giants closer. Behind closed doors, Russian and Chinese officials craft countermeasures designed to blunt U.S. influence and safeguard their mutual interests. The Kremlin wastes no time exploiting Washington's moves, using the diplomatic assault as a pretext to deepen economic and military ties with Beijing. Now, the risk is no longer abstract. If Trump's gambit fails, America faces not just diplomatic embarrassment, but a crippling loss of leverage over both Eurasian powers. The consequences: economic turmoil, security vulnerabilities, and a potential rewriting of the world's balance of power, could reverberate for years to come. If Washington's pressure only accelerates Eurasian unity, what comes next? Do Western powers still have time and tools to shift the trajectory, or is a new global order already taking shape before our eyes? The stakes could not be higher. Next, we unravel exactly how the new Russia-China axis is redrawing the rules of international strategy, and what it means for the West's future. Imagine a world where America's threats and bargains no longer matter. In this emerging reality, the old rules no longer apply. The balance of power has shifted, and the West is struggling to keep up. Russia has just demonstrated overwhelming military dominance in Ukraine. Their latest strike, using more than 24 tactical missiles, bypassed all Western-supplied air defenses, leaving NATO's much-praised systems powerless. This was not just a battlefield victory. It signaled that Western technology is no longer the decisive shield it once was. Meanwhile, China is wielding a different kind of weapon: control over rare earth elements and critical supply chains. With every new restriction or quota, Beijing tightens its grip, forcing global manufacturers and tech companies to choose sides. The Chinese government is also accelerating the creation of its own financial networks and digital platforms, slowly building a parallel ecosystem where Western sanctions and regulations have little effect. What makes this moment truly historic is the coordination between Moscow and Beijing. American initiatives, once the tools of global leadership, now often backfire. Each new round of sanctions, military aid, or diplomatic pressure seems to tighten the partnership between Russia and China, turning American strategies into self-defeating traps. The fallout is everywhere. Global supply chains are being redrawn as companies scramble to navigate new blockades and tariffs. Oil and gas flows, once reliable, now shift according to the terms set in Moscow and Beijing, not in Washington. Even humanitarian aid, trade routes, and digital infrastructure are becoming battlegrounds for influence, forcing countries to pick sides in a zero-sum game. The West, accustomed to setting the agenda, is now scrambling to react. Allies who once relied on American guarantees are questioning their options. The risk is clear. Anyone underestimating this shift, whether a national leader or an ordinary citizen, risks being unprepared for massive changes in security, economic stability, and political freedom. But in this new world, adaptation is possible. The real question: what lessons can people, governments, and decision-makers take from this seismic shift to survive and thrive? Let's break down the urgent takeaways. What strategies and mindsets are needed now as the old world order gives way to the new? When power centers shift, survival belongs to those who adapt. Are you ready to rethink old alliances and narratives? It is no longer safe to trust the alliances, military technology, or political certainties that shaped the past decades. The missile strike on Kyiv and the diplomatic chess match between Washington and Beijing have shown us. The rules of the game are changing fast, and the players are finding new ways to win. Blind faith in familiar partners or advanced weaponry has become a dangerous illusion, one that could leave you exposed when the next crisis erupts. To navigate this new era, you need to look deeper than headlines about missiles or summits. Understanding supply chains, resource dependencies, and subtle shifts in diplomatic language is now vital. Who controls the flow of energy? Who decides what technology is shared or withheld? And how do these choices ripple down to your job, your bills, even your digital freedoms? The front lines of conflict have moved. Economic warfare, technological blacklists, and sudden price spikes will reshape daily life. You might notice it when inflation eats away at your savings, when a new device is suddenly banned, or when a familiar social app goes dark due to sanctions. These disruptions are not random. They are signals of a world where power is measured in control over resources, information, and connections. Adaptability is your best armor. Be prepared for rapid changes in government policy, energy availability, and the pace of global news cycles. One day, an alliance might seem rock solid. The next, it's a liability. Look past nostalgia for the old order. Critical thinking is what will decide who thrives and who is left behind. Refusing to read these signals or clinging to outdated assumptions could mean real losses. Your finances, your security, even your voice in shaping the future. Political marginalization and economic insecurity are not distant threats. They are already arriving for those who fail to adapt. The world is already changing, so the question is, what should you actually do, starting today? In the next section, we'll break down concrete steps you can take to protect yourself and stay ahead as global power structures continue to shift. Will you watch from the sidelines as history moves, or claim your role in a world where no side holds all the cards? The events we have explored are not isolated accidents or distant headlines. They are signals of deep structural change. As Western dominance unravels, powers like Russia and China are not just reacting, but actively setting new terms for global order. Choosing to look away now means ceding your influence and agency just as the ground shifts beneath us all. The connections between the missile strike in Kyiv and the tense U.S.-China diplomacy are not mere coincidences. They are calculated maneuvers within a contest where every move reshapes the balance of trust, security, and survival. If we misread these signals, the cost is far more than lost prestige for one country or another. It threatens the stability of economies, the reliability of alliances, and even our sense of safety at home. The next crisis will not wait for us to catch up. So, ask yourself, are you content with inherited narratives, or will you start questioning the headlines and motives behind every new development? The multipolar era rewards the informed and punishes complacency. Your awareness is your first shield against the unpredictable storms ahead. We urge you, read critically, follow unfolding events, and demand accountability from those in power. The future is written not by the loudest voices, but by those who stay informed and engaged. In this new world, you must choose: be a passive spectator, or help shape the outcomes that will define a generation.